we're done. Okay? So a review on the 9th, an exam on the 14th. Okay? And we're done. And that's it. I won't see you again.
In class will be the 9th. So this Wednesday will be our last class.
Actually, it's interesting about next Monday will be our last class. I will be here Monday and I'll log in for anybody who wants to, but unless you have a question or want to come, you really don't have to because taking the test is what's going to count. And I always get somebody who says, gee, I forgot when the test was. I can't really do that anymore. The test is a week from today. It's Monday. Don't forget. Take it. I'm sorry, it wasn't in this class, one of my other classes. Guy says, you gotta reopen the test. Why? I totally forgot about it. Well, we're coming up on the last test of everything. Don't forget that Monday the 14th is an exam on chapter 10, 12, and 13, and that's the end of the semester. Okay. I assume you can all see my PowerPoint. Right. Now, again, I'm not killing time and giving a lecture I don't need. If you remember, this lecture is very important, and we gave it already, but it's been about 2 weeks since we gave it. Oh, one more thing for the young lady who asked, and everybody. I hope you enjoyed my SUMNet masking lecture last week, but that will not be on the test. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope some of you understood it, but that will not be on the test, okay? Because I think it's too hard. Anybody here who... Iman, you want to ask me something?
Yeah, speaking of the subnetting sheet, did you email us that sheet?
I did.
Remember?
You didn't get it? Would you like it? I'll try to remember to email you your personal copy.
Thank you.
But everybody else I thought got it. But I'll give you a personal copy if that's what you need. Or I'll forward the email just to you. All right. So having said that, this stuff with that, this is not the formal review, but this is a lot of the stuff will be on the test. You might want to pay attention to it. Now let me do 3 things. Let me shut off my TV. Let me turn this off, and again, this might be on the test. You can all see it, I'm assuming, because I am sharing. I'm skipping. Okay. The title of this entire chapter is Wide Area, which means long distance. So this is the gimmick that allows us to go the long distance. And I can already tell you, even though it's not the review, knowing what a modem is and a CSU, DSU, and all that will be on the final exam. So let's make sure we got this cold. Okay? First of all, a digital signal is highs and lows, ones and zeros, on and off. That's digital. It's always 1, it's always 0, it's not in between. An analog signal varies continuously. So on my test, if someone wants to know what's digital, there are only 2 possibilities, yes, no, on, off. Analog means it could be a lot of different things. See what I'm saying? So analog varies continuously, and digital is up, on, off. Okay? Now, a computer puts out a digital signal. The telephone line, at least the old one, was analog. Let's do it again. A computer puts out a digital signal. A telephone line, at least the old one, was analog. So what if I want to put out my computer, which is digital, to communicate over the analog phone line, the old one? That would be a modem. What's a modem? A modulator, demodulator. What does it do? It changes digital to analog to send, and then analog to digital to receive. So D to A to send, A to D to receive. Why? I'm putting a digital signal, sending to you a digital signal, but it's got to go along an analog old-fashioned phone line. When I have to do that, what do I need? A modem. What is a modem? A modulator, demodulator. Know what a modem is, know when you use a modem, and know what an analog signal is, and know what a digital signal is, and know how an analog and digital signal differ from each other. Right. Right. And know those differences. Now, okay, Professor, you didn't get the memo. It may be true that when Grandma and Grandpa were around, that all the signals were analog. But didn't you know we live in Bergen County in 2020? Didn't you realize that all the telephone lines today are already digitized? So what if I want to put a digital connection between a device like your computer, but I want to put it on an already digitized phone line. Now I'm going from digital to digital. I don't need a modem. What do I need instead? I need a CSU DSU, which stands for a channel service unit, data service unit. And the best explanation is the very bottom line here. See the bottom line? What does the bottom line say? One type of digital signal to a different type of digital signal. And that would be when you use a CSU DSU. So the computer on an analog phone line is a modem. Computer on a digital phone line is a CSU DSU. I'll spend a minute on this. To go from LAN to LAN, I always go through a router. So if I'm going from one local area network to another local area network, I have to go through a router. But if I'm going from one local area network to another one that's far away, I still have to go through a router. But then I use the CSU, DSU, or modem to get the distance. So to go from LAN to LAN, I need a router. To go from LAN to LAN over a long distance, I need a router and a CSU, DSU, or modem. Now remember, CSU, DSU if it's a digital line, a modem if it's an analog line. Everybody got that? Again, I'm going a little bit rapidly, but I've done this lecture before. It should be a reminder lecture. The formal review is this coming Wednesday, but a lot of this stuff will be on the test. I've enjoyed teaching this. I hope you've enjoyed taking it, but I think we'll all be happy to be through with the semester. Let's go. Okay, now, this is tricky stuff, and I'm going to cover all of it. I need to know circuit switch. I need to know packet switch. I need to know how they differ. I need to know all the different parts of it. So I'm going to take my time on this. Let's see, it's 3:30. We should be out of here by 4:15. But this stuff is important. Okay, here it is. The telephone is circuit switch. Why? If I call you up, I have a temporary connection, temporary dedicated connection, my house and your house. And if we talk for minutes or we talk for hours, the connection is the same. So the temporary dedicated connection is circuit switch. The telephone is circuit switched. This term POTS, P-O-T-S, stands for plain old telephone service. POTS, plain old telephone service, is the service that grandma talked to grandpa on. It's the analog phone service that grandma and grandpa talked on. And that's known as plain old telephone service. And all telephones are circuit switched. And here it is. Plain old telephone service. Now look what it says. Limited bandwidth through the digital analog conversion. Well, what are they talking about? Well, what do we say? When you're putting the digital signal on an analog line, what are you going to do? You're going to use a modem. And what does a modem do? What does a modem do? It does analog to digital to send, and digital analog, I'm sorry, D to A to send, and A to D to receive. So the modem keeps doing these conversions. What does that do? That slows you down. So the D to A and A to D with the modem slowed you down. What is that? Plain old telephone service POTS, the old-fashioned analog phone line. Now, this is on the test, so I'm going to go over it, but let's do it. ISDN is one of the beginning digital phone lines. Digital phone lines. So try to remember BRI and PRI. The basic rate interface BRI is what they call 2B channels. Now, 2B channels means two telephone channels. It was really meant that one would be a phone and one would be a modem. So you have two phone channels, one for the phone, one for the modem. That's the BRI for the ISDN. If you have a corporation or a company, you say, look, I'm going to need 23 telephone lines. That's the PRI. So the PRI is 23 telephone lines. The BRI is 2 telephone lines. Only if you're using ISDN. What does the D stand for ISDN? Digital. What is that? The original digital telephone line. Know that BRI is 2 telephone lines and PRI is 23 telephone lines. By the way, this is not used very often, but it's still available. and the rules still apply. Still available, rules still apply. We just don't use it very often. Yeah. Know which is which for my test. We haven't even gotten to the hard part yet. No, we're skipping this. All right, let's begin. These are now digital phone lines. These are now digital. These are not POTS. These are digital phone lines. And the two famous ones, and I don't want to use my marker, but these two, the T1, the T3. The T1 line, the speed is 1.5 million bits per second, and the T3 is 44. Now, do I really have to know that? Well, here's my problem. There's a T1, a T2, a T3, a T9, a T10, a T11, T12, and they all have different speeds, and you can look them up if you want to. But the one you want to know for their test and mine is that a T1 line is 1.5 million bits per second. T1 line, 1.544 million bits per second. And the other one is a T3 is 44 million bits per second. Now, why they want you to know those two, I'm not sure, but I have a rough idea. The T1 is called the building block line. So the T1 being 1.5 million bits per second, that is how the entire country is wired. So the country is wired on T1 lines at 1.5 million bits per second. Yeah. Okay, so let's go down to the bottom. I already gave you a lecture on the old phone things. You had to ring the operator. I want to call Chicago. And the operator would say, I'll call you back in an hour, and the line Chicago is free because right now it's busy. Well, the phone company would have gone bankrupt. So what the phone company needs is a way to put several conversations on the same line at the same time, multiplexing several communication streams to travel simultaneously over the same cable segment. Several communication streams to travel simultaneously over the same cable segment. That's multiplexing. How do I do that? I do it by putting in each one as its own time slot. So time division multiplexing is a way of putting your conversation on one time slot, yours in a different one, and yours in a different one. That means on the same wire, I can have 24 two-way conversations with complete privacy. Now, don't worry about that number 24 because that's the original number. That's been duplicated many times. So now it's 48 or 96 or 120 some odd. So you can have 120 something two-way conversations on one phone line at the same time if you use something called time division multiplexing. One more time. Multiplexing several communication streams simultaneously over the same cable segment. Time division multiplexing, that's how I do it. I put each conversation in a different time slot, and I rotate quickly between time slots. Know that a T1 line is 1.5 million bits per second. Know what multiplexing is, and know what time division multiplexing is. Okay. I'm just pausing and catching my breath, but we have a lot more to go. We should be out of here by 4:10 or 4:15. You notice you use a CSU DSU, but that's got nothing to do with multiplexing. The only reason you're using a CSU DSU is all of these are digital phone lines. So when you're talking about a digital phone line, you're talking about CSU DSU. That's the only reason. All right, let's begin again. Now, I think this is also on the test. SONET. The O stands for optical. Optical means what? Fiber optic. High-speed optical fiber optic, sending ones and zeros, blinking, blinking. OC, optical carrier 3, optical carrier 12. These are even multiples. Optical carrier 3 is 3 times the speed of an OC1. So an OC1 is about 50 million, 51 million point something. And again, I don't have the board to mark it up. So an OC3 is 155 million. An OC12 is exactly 12 times an OC1. Or an OC12 is 4 times this. So 4 times this is this number. An OC48 is 48 times an OC1. That's 48 times what? 50 million. An OC192 and OC768. So understand that optical carrier is blinking light, high-speed digital telephone technology. and know that optical carrier 3 and OC12 and OC48 exist. It's for high speed over fiber optic. Why? Because optical stands for light and light is fiber optic. Again, I explained to you once a long time ago, and this is my last real lecture, that this entire course, I think you're appreciating it, is what I call learning terminology, technobabble, techno-terminology. So all you're doing is you're learning terminology. That's all you're doing. And this is one of the terms you have to know. Okay, here we go. Packet switching does not create a dedicated connection. I'm going to come back to this in a minute. Packet switching makes a virtual connection, a logical connection between the two devices. No single cable exists. So packet switching is a virtual connection, not an actual one. Well, what do we say the telephone uses? Telephone uses circuit switching because a cell phone is an actual connection between my house and your house. With packet switching, we do not have an actual connection. What we have is a virtual connection, a logical, no single cable. Don't worry about SVC and PVC. Know that packet switching is logical connections only, virtual connections. Okay? And here's the cuidado. The telephone uses circuit switching, the internet uses packet switching. Let me say it again. The telephone uses circuit switching, the internet uses packet switching. Okay? And understand that packet switching is not a dedicated connection, and therefore, what is it? It's a logical one, also known as what? A virtual circuit. Why? It's not an actual circuit, it's a virtual circuit. What does that mean? No single cable exists between the two endpoints. Again, I warned you that it was all techno-babble, techno-terminology, but this chapter is unique for that. You've seen it before, but it's important you know this stuff for the test coming up. Remember, the test is a week from today with a review on Wednesday. Okay, now back here. We will have to know all four of these. Packet switching. There's X25, there's frame relay, there's ATM, there's MPLS. We need to know all four of them. They're all forms of packet switching. So pay close attention, take notes. X25, okay? That's the old form of packet switching. That's the form that we don't use anymore. And why? Because that's the one that has a lot of error checking. One more time. Packet switching with a lot of error checking. And why? Because it ran over older copper phone lines. And therefore, we needed a lot of error checking. And the error checking does what? Slows you down. Okay? It's reliable and error-free. But I don't know where it says so. It doesn't say it on the slide. It's been replaced by other higher speeds because this is very low speed. So let's try it. X25, original form of packet switching, lots of error checking, and very slow. Very reliable, but very slow. Okay, here's the big one. Frame relay. That's the one that has no error checking at all. Well, wait a minute. If you have no error checking, isn't going to be unreliable? Yes, it is. Well, why would you want it to be unreliable? Because you don't want to do any error checking. What's the advantage of doing no error checking? If you do no error checking, you don't waste a lot of time. And what do? You get a lot of speed. So you get high speed over this one because there's no error checking at all. Frame relay, the type of packet switching that does no error checking and has lots of speed. The third dot down about the CIR. The CIR is a guaranteed minimum rate. And all that means is with frame relay, I can charge you different amounts of money for different speeds. So low speed, low charge. Medium speed, medium charge. Very fast, higher charge. So you'll get paid by speed, and I can dial the speed up and down. So again, CIR, guaranteed minimum transmission rate, only applies to frame relay. High speed, more money. Low speed, cheaper, less money. Only frame relay has CIR. What is it? The guaranteed minimum transmission rate. And only frame relay has it. I keep talking about using a bunch of CSU, DSUs. That's got nothing to do with being packet switched or frame relay. That just has to do with running a digital line. Run a digital line, you got to use the CSU DSU. Right. Two more, and we're still not done with the lecture, but two more, and we're done with this topic. By the way, I don't want to say much about this, but I'm just trying to show you. Remember, I said that the whole world is linked by T1 lines. That does not mean that New York City only has two T1 lines to it, but it means that all the cities together are linked together by T1 lines. Okay. ATM, and that's not how you cash a check. ATM is another form of packet switching, high speed. And that's the one that uses what I call the mini packets or the fixed lane cells. Cells are fixed lanes rather than typical ones. Fixed lane cells can be switched more efficiently. So remember what you do. You take the big packet, you break it up to little tiny packets, you switch the little tiny packets more rapidly, then you got to crazy glue them together and make them into big packets again. Well, you would think that all the time it takes to convert back and forth would slow you down. But it turns out that ATM, its main purpose is what? High-speed data links. It's for very high speed. And the secret in the test question is it uses fixed length cells or mini packets or mini cells to get the high speed. Used heavily for the backbone and large communication, meaning if you're trying to go from building to building or between server rooms or something for the backbone, you need high speed. That might be ATM. It's a form of packet switching that uses fixed length cells or mini packets. Never mind memorizing the numbers, but you're talking about 155 million or 620 million, so very high speed. And again, we're not done with the lecture, but the final one for this topic is MPLS, and that's multi-protocol label switching, also a form of packet switching. Runs over everything, okay? I thought it said somewhere. Oh, it's a network layer 3 protocol. So it works at the network layer 3, and it's MPLS. And what it says is it makes packet forwarding decisions, making it unnecessary to view the contents of the packet. Now that's a little bit deceptive. What it does is it lets you forward the packet without reading the to and from addresses. And you say, wait, how can you forward a packet if I don't read the to and from address? Well, to deliver the packet to you, I got to read the to and from address. I got that. But to just send the packet across the country, keep going west, keep going north, keep going south, I don't need it. So to make packet forwarding decisions from router to router more efficient and faster, MPLS puts a label across the to and from address and sends the packet faster from place to place. It forwards the packet, making it unnecessary to view the contents. I'm going to rephrase that. Make it unnecessary to view the contents of the address, of the to and from address. You don't need to do that to forward it. Therefore, what does it do? It gets the packet there faster. Therefore, what's the result? High speed. What do we have to with all this stuff? How do I increase the speed? So multi-protocol label switching is a network layer 3 protocol that gives you very high speed. So what do? We know that packet switching does not make a dedicated connection. We know that packet switching uses a virtual circuit, not an actual circuit. Packet switching is the internet. The internet's packet switch, the telephone is circuit switch. But here's the cuidado. Under packet switching, we have X25. That's the old one that does a lot of error checking, is slow. Frame relay, the new one with no error checking, so it's very fast. And that's the one that's the CIR, variable speed, variable amount of money. ATM is the one with the mini packets or mini cells that gives you high speed. And MPLS, multi-protocol label switching, that's when we put a label over the to and from address to forward the packet across the country faster. All of those are forms of what? Forms of packet switching. Peter Piper picked a peck of, okay, we all got that. Now, we don't have much more to do. I have a little bit more to do. We don't have a lot more. But all that stuff I just covered would be on my test. Right? We'll see how far we get. I may even go to another chapter. Let me just have a second to look around and see where I'm going after this. No, that didn't make it. That did. One more thing, and then I may go to another chapter because I have a little time and I don't want to waste it because this is the last lecture. Okay. Here's Bergen. Here's you. Here's the router. Here's the demarcation point. What's the local loop or last mile? When I leave Bergen and go to the Paramus switching office, here's the Bergen Community College campus. Here's the demarcation point. Here's the Paramus switching office. That's the local loop. That's the last mile. There's the demarcation point. So here it is. The demarcation point's the point where the Bergen network ends and Verizon or Sprint begins. That's the demarcation point. What is the last mile of local loop? It's between the exit of the Bergen campus or the exit of the demarcation point to what? To the Paramus switching office. What about your house? Do you have a last mile local loop? Sure. If you're sitting in your bedroom in Glen Rock or Fairlawn, and you have a line from your bedroom, Glen Rock or Fairlawn, to the local switching office in town, that's the last mile. So from your house in Glen Rock to the switching office in Glen Rock, from your house in Fairlawn, the switching office in Fairlawn, that would be your last mile or local loop. Okay? Now, I think what I'm going to do is, I know we could go home if we wanted to, but I'm going to do something else. Oh my goodness, I got to stop sharing this. Yeah, we have a few minutes, and I know you're going to miss me tremendously. Let me just see. I got everybody who came in. Mr. Smith, I got you. You came in late, but I got you. All right, so just give me a second. I know you're antsy to leave, but let me just see documents. 10, 12. Now, which one do I want to do? Yeah, I think I'm going to do this one because this is the one you had trouble with, I think. What did I just do? Okay, you can see this, right? Yeah, I know you can. Son of a bitch. I should lecture on all of this, but I don't want to. Yeah, this isn't the one I want. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm confusing you. I could lecture on this and it's important, but the one I want is the harder one. The one I want is the more difficult one. I'm sorry I'm screwing up like this. Yeah, here we go. This is the one I want because I want to give you the more difficult one. Don't miss the lecture on Wednesday because it'll be a formal review for the test with my notes as to exactly what's on the test. Thank you. Okay, here's what I want to talk about. And then we're going home. Yeah, I should talk about this. I just don't feel like it. I should talk about ping and trace route because they're on the thing. But this is what I want to talk about. You remember this backup garbage? So let's try it. You're going to do a backup. What's a full backup? You back up all the files on Sunday, right? So what do we decide to do? Incremental backup. Supposing on Monday, I only back up Monday's changes, and on Tuesday, I only back up Tuesday's changes, and on Wednesday, I only back up Wednesday's changes. That would be full and incremental, and that's perfectly legal. You're allowed to do that. But the problem would be this. If you had a problem, pay attention to this because it's going to get trickier. If you had a crash on, say, Thursday or Friday, you would have to restore Sunday's tape and Monday's tape and Tuesday's tape and Wednesday's tape and Thursday's tape to get them all back. So while a full backup every night is permissible, but it wastes a lot of time, some people said, look, I'll back up everything on Sunday, But Monday night, I'll only back up Monday changes. And Tuesday night, I'll only back up Tuesday changes. What does that do? That saves time doing the backup. Yes, it's true that it does. But if you have a fault on, say, Thursday or Friday night, you got to restore Sunday's tape and Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So what's the other solution? Sunday night, you back up everything. But how's the differential change? Differential backup. Monday, you back up all of Monday's changes, but on Tuesday, you back up both Monday and Tuesday changes. And on Wednesday, you back up Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday changes. And on Thursday, you back up Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday changes. What is the advantage to that? Well, if you had a crash on Thursday or Friday night, all you'd have to do is restore Sunday's tape and Thursday's tape, or Sunday's tape and Friday's tape, because you're backing up Monday over and over again. So I'm coming back to the slide. I'm not leaving it. The best solution is a weekly full and a daily differential. But one more time, full and incremental is okay and legal. Full and differential is okay and legal, but you never combine incremental and differential. Now, I'm done, right? No, listen up. Here's the hard part. I don't want to put my marker. I may have to do it next time. I'm not going to do it now. This says copies all selected files and marks them as backed up. That means on Sunday, when you back up everything, you say, yes, I backed up everything. How do you do it? Remember the archive bit. What does archive bit mean? Archive bit isn't it's been archived. The archive bit really means archive required. And on Sunday afternoon, nothing has been backed up. So they all require a backup. Once you've done that, you've backed up everything, it lowers the A bit. How does it mark as backed up? It lowers the A bit because now it doesn't need to be archived, it has been. Now, on Monday, you only back up Monday's changes, but you also mark them as backed up. How do you mark them as backed up? You lower the A bit. Why? When the A bit was up, it says this needs to be archived. When the A bit is down, it says this has already been archived. So every time you do an incremental backup, you lower the A bit to show that what? To show that you did back it up. It has been archived. Yeah, give me a drum roll if it is a tricky one. If you remember, if I'm doing the full and differential, on Monday I back up, on Sunday night I back up everything. On Monday I back up all of Monday's changes, but on Tuesday I back up both Monday and Tuesday changes, and on Wednesday I back up Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday changes. Therefore, I can't mark the files as backed up. So what that means is I back up all the changes I made on Monday, but I do not lower the A bit. Now, why? Because if I did lower the A bit, when I tried to reback them up on Tuesday, they wouldn't reback up. By not lowering the A bit, they will back up. So the full backup marks the files as backed up. What does that mean? It lowers the archive required bit. The incremental backup marks the files as backed up. What does that mean? It lowers the archive required bit. But the differential backup does not mark the files as backed up. What does that mean? It does not affect the archive required bit. It's required on Monday. It's required again on Tuesday. It's required again on Wednesday. You keep backing up over and over again and know which is which. And just a little hint, this stuff will be on my test. I think there's only 1 or 2 questions, but I absolutely guarantee you this stuff would be on the Net Plus test if you take it. So understanding the backup types, understanding how they fit together is somewhat critical. Okay, so knowing that is extremely important. Right? And the reason I wanted to do this a second time is knowing, and again, what's the best model? A weekly full and a daily differential. A weekly full and a daily differential. And then the only last thing on the test, I'm a little lazy, I don't want to go to it today, was all that stuff about RAID 1 and RAID 5. So remember that RAID 1 was disk mirroring, and it's 2 of them together, and that RAID 5 is disk striping with parity, which means you stripe them down. Remember that? And if one fails, and if one disk fails, you put the blank disk in, it comes back. Those are all considered fault tolerance or redundancy. And then you want to understand the server clustering stuff. I just don't feel like doing that lecture right now. So for the young lady or young person who asked me that question a minute ago, I just want to check my attendance. The class is ending, meaning be sure to don't miss Wednesday. because Wednesday we are having a formal review with page numbers like I always do. I'm just checking names. And then a week from today on Monday, which is I think the 14th, you'll have to go on PowerPoint on Moodle and take the test. Now Monday I will be here if somebody wants to sign in to say hello or something, but we're not going to have a regular class. I'm actually cutting a whole week off because the last Monday of this class should have been Monday the 21st, but I didn't have enough to do and I thought we could be through with it. So if you take the review on Wednesday and the test on Monday the 14th, we will be done with the class. Okay? Before I leave and say goodbye, anybody have any questions on anything? One more thing, you're supposed to be reviewing your teachers and reviewing all your classes. So not only this class, but all your classes, please do the little review. And just as a quick thing, I hope you like my teaching and you'll say so. But if you any teachers, me included, that you either didn't like or didn't like how the class was presented, this is a chance on your review to say so. A lot of people don't like being online. You can say that. If you have a good teacher, say the teacher was good. If you have a bad teacher, say the teacher was bad. Because this is a new thing. We've never done a semester online before. So I would urge you to not only do it on my class, but all your teachers. Do a review and don't just say, yeah, yeah, yeah. Write stuff in. I like this. I didn't like this. I like this. I didn't like this. Because you all know that next semester, any of you returning, we're fully online again next semester. Just so I could tell you. All right. Is there any questions about what the last day or date is? So you're all going to be here Wednesday for my brilliant review. And you're all going to be here on Monday to take the actual test. And your grade is all 4 grades. So whatever you got in the first 3 tests, plus this, I don't drop the lowest grade. I don't have enough tests. I'll do a straight average, and that will be your grade. Okay? Questions, comments, statements? You want to throw a tomato at me? Anybody want to say anything? Well, I'm done. I'll see you all Wednesday for the review. It's up to you. Okay?
Thanks, Professor.
See you Wednesday. Have a good day. Whoever said that. And Michael Smith, I got you in. Yeah. I'm on. Good night.
Oh, wait.